Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is August 23rd, 2018, 3:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, we're going to start with our hurricane warnings, our tropical storm warnings, hurricane watch, and tropical storm watch. As you can see, basically every island except for Leo, if that's how you pronounce it. Sorry, I'm sure I'll hear all about it in the comments. The purple is what you want to look out for, hurricane warnings, because this thing is basically directly under the Big Island, just west of it, as you can see in this satellite image here. Um, One good thing coming out of this. Now, there is good and there's bad. There has been a slight hook to the west, which is bringing it farther away from the main island. But how long is that hook going to last is what we need to watch out for. That's why these last couple days, basically the next 24 hours, are super critical when it comes to exactly what this thing is going to do to Hawaii. Don't get me wrong, we are already having very significant effects on the coast. We're talking 20 plus foot waves. Some of these areas, storm surge wise, are already flooded. Streets are flooded in parts of Hawaii, parts of the Big Island, even parts as far as Maui right now are reporting very significant flooding. Now, if you look at the spaghetti plots here, the spaghetti plot is current. You could see, as I showed you in this picture, this hueish blue picture, we are past the Big Island. So that is where these spaghetti models are plotting. Now, if you notice, some of these models have this thing literally shooting straight up north and then even hooking back towards the east. So, again, there is a lot of different ideas going on here between the different organizations that put these plots out. And yes, we've used this term before. It looks like you're just twirling spaghetti on a fork, but for the most part, you can get a visual of what this thing wants to do. And what it wants to do is hook north while that pressure is released, and whether or not it's going to be far enough to either clip some of these islands. Like I said, we are already dealing with massive flooding. That is what they are talking about a lot on different weather channels and stuff. I know a lot of this stuff is mainstream media. I use it sometimes just to verify certain situations that answer questions in the comments. So basically right here, Hurricane Lane, a potential Hawaiian flood disaster. Now, again, like I said, there's plenty of video out there. There's people on rowboats floating down their streets. The flooding has already started, and this hurricane is still a significant distance away from the islands, but that just goes to show how big this thing really is. May pass dangerously close to Maui and Oahu, I believe. There you go. I'll be hearing about that one too, including Honolulu Friday. Now, this would be Thursday night tonight going into Friday, but like I said, we have already had very, very big flooding issues. Now, you can see as the storm approaches, according to what they think, it's going to die down. I mean, this is a common thing unless you get those crazy Category 5 Atlantic hurricanes that just don't stop until they hit land. This one is hooking into cooler water, which is almost a godsend for the people of Hawaii, because if this thing stays even at 120 miles an hour, we're talking massive devastation. And the fact that the hurricane is so far south, causing all this flooding already, these waves and this choppy water has nowhere else to go but north, right into these coasts here. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. We'll see a little bit more what they have to say about it. Hurricane Lane is a Category 4 as of right now, just over 200 miles south of the Big Island. Like I said, it's a bit southwest at this point. Lane is curling northwestward towards Hawaii and weakening as expected. Now, we need to remember this, guys. We talked about this last year, and we've even talked about it this year. When people see the Category 5s and the Category 4s, they kind of get numb to the 2s and the 1s as if they are not capable of causing damage. A Category 1 hurricane will take a house down. Let's not fool ourselves here. This is a very big situation, and it's not going to change. I mean, it's pretty certain that this thing will do most of its damage to either the west coast of the Big Island and then follow through through Maui and Honolulu and then out into the outer islands. But we also have another thing to look out for. We have a little friend that seems to be following hurricane lane, and this thing is almost developing a counterclockwise spin. Now, if I bring up our satellite view here, which we've been looking at to follow this donut shape, which is massive, the donut alone on this hurricane is bigger than the main island of Hawaii. And that is absolutely part of the reason why the bands that are coming off this are pushing so much water into these islands that they are already being flooded. Now, there is a little bit of wind. They're starting to get those 30 to 40 mile an hour gusts. They will get worse. Even if this thing does continue to head in a western direction and even passes off in this direction, once this hurricane is right here, every bit of water, because it's spinning in a counterclockwise motion, it's pushing all that water up right into the south part of every coast of every Hawaiian island. So flooding will be, without a doubt, an issue with this. The storm surge, the rip currents, all that stuff that comes with very big disturbances in the water. Now, really quick, I want to show you something here. We're going to go to the European model and the GFS because we like to show both. They are very much in agreement as of right now, besides a slight change. You can see we are in August 23rd right now. The pressure has dropped to 942, which means that this thing has actually gotten stronger. Last night it weakened. A couple hours before last night, it was back in that 940 pressure, jumped up to about 950, and now dropped back down to 940. Now, this is momentum based. So, yes, you will see this number rise as it gets closer to the islands. Cooler waters, as it makes interaction with land, it stops it from its counterclockwise spin in open water. Anytime a hurricane is in open water, especially when it's 80 degrees, it's just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger until something stops it, whether that be a high pressure system in the ocean itself or landfall itself. So more charts than not are showing this thing hooking around every island and then dissipating. So let's roll through this real quick. You could see that this one is following the spaghetti plot I just showed you of how it comes up and then hooks back down. So there, the GFS is saying that this thing wants to make a little bit of a western movement and then hook back to the east, right over Maui. And that is just very interesting to me because it's just not following the wind patterns in the atmosphere. So again, the GFS is a coin toss type of deal. I mean, when we're this close to landfall, it's very hard to not believe these charts. You could see how the European models had this thing a little bit farther south of the Big Island. But again, watch what happens as we get into right now. August 23rd, it made that little westward movement and then automatically shoots up north again right towards Maui as 999 pressure. Anything under 1,000 is basically a very serious situation. I know those words come out of my mouth a lot, but you know, there's no other way to explain it. So we got high-low on the back end of the Big Island. Honolulu is one of the farther islands in the chain here. We got Maui right here. As of right now, this thing says 130 mile an hour sustained winds. We have gusts up to 160, 949 pressure. So the GFS is accurate with at least the weather.com channel. Northwest at 7 miles an hour. So again, that western movement is happening, but it's also that northern movement that's happening. So whether it's a pressure that's going to be forming on the west side of the storm that forces it up, or if it's a complete release of pressure in the upper Atlantic Ocean that's lifting up, that is why this storm, according to the charts, wants to just shoot up north. And again, this is a very rare situation. These things do not happen. It's been a very, very, very long time since a hurricane, especially one of this size, has made landfall in Hawaii. Again, I need you guys to focus on this area too. This is causing counterclockwise spin. And it's a very weird situation because it's almost like it's a piece of this hurricane that broke off and began to form its own little cyclone system. I will be watching that closely. Here's just another little look at what we were dealing with. This was a couple hours ago. As we all know, the storm is now in this area, making that western north hook according to the Euros and to the GFS model. I'm not using the FGFS model right now because it's still in beta testing. No reason to get people all frantic about that. Anything else significant to read here? We got some rain charts here. Now, guys, some of the rain that's fallen in this area is 20 plus inches, and that is with just the bands alone. So when you have bands of water that dense, leaving 20 inches of rain in some areas, there's areas with 14 inches of rain that have already been recorded. This is not a prediction. This has already happened. You know this thing's packing a lot of moisture. So the closer it gets to the islands, you're going to see more and more flooding. There are videos out there that unfortunately I cannot play because of copyright reasons where you can see water just flowing by people's houses. There is a actual fake picture out there of a group of people on a canoe floating down a street with a shark next to them. And I'm not sure if the picture's real or not. I didn't even bring it up because I don't want to get caught up in the, oh, you're posting fake pictures, this and that. I'm just showing you what I see and what to look out for. People like to exaggerate certain situations. I know I was a bit upbeat last night making this video because it's just one of those situations where not only the rarity of the storm, but the fact that we are already getting the amount of flooding and rain from this thing and it's still so far away. That's a very big concern to a lot of people. So once again, you could check out the European model. It is clearly showing this thing northwest right now, accurate. All information is accurate. And then as we move into the 24th, which is tomorrow, that is going to be crunch time. That is when the west side of the big island will be getting the most of what Lane has to offer. And then Maui is going to be a very big concern. And if this thing decides to hook left, that's when we're going to be dealing with Honolulu, so on and so forth. And then we are expecting the storm to dissipate once it does do its damage to the Hawaiian Islands. So that is the update as of right now. These are the current spaghetti plots. This is the current satellite imaging. Perfect donut, perfect eye wall. This thing has no signs of slowing down. And then this right here, once again, just keep an eye on it, guys. It could turn into its own little cyclone. I don't know how long it'll last, only because the waters up in this area are cooler than they are where the hurricane actually is. This may just be an anomaly that comes and goes. Let's hope that is the case. If you didn't see the picture, just off topic a bit, I got a cool picture of the moon with Mars underneath it. It's hard to get Mars clear shot of it with a 250 millimeter lens, but it's a bit easier to get the moon a little bit clear. So this was last night around 1:44 a.m. Me and Caroline were watching the moon pass right over Mars, which was really cool. So, all right, what else? Let's see. Let's just take a look at some of the areas that we're dealing with here that are going to be obviously either flooded or already flooded. This entire coast will see a lot of water. Basically, that's the theme here. Maui, you will see a lot of water in this area. Storm surge, riptides, all that stuff. Not even going to pronounce it. This island is certainly in the exact path of it. This one is as well. And then, obviously, Maui's in here. We got the Maui, Red Hill, Hanalika Mountain, and then so on and so forth up to Honolulu and Oahu. Those of you that are in Hawaii, you guys know these names. Obviously, I'm doing my best to pronounce them. But the point is, the info's out there, and we just want to keep you guys updated as often as possible. Guys, hunker down. I mean, again, I can't stress enough, for those of you that still have power, there are a lot of power losses already going on. So it's only going to get worse from here until this thing has passed through and done its deal. Unfortunately, I don't like bringing bad news to people, but this is the reality of the situation. So as long as we see that eye wall and the size of this donut, which obviously is bigger than the main island, just the bands alone are enough to cause enough damage to where people are going to be displaced. There's going to be power outages for a long time. We're dealing with a secluded set of islands. it takes time to get power restored to places like this because they need equipment that they might not have. Food has to be shipped or flown to these islands. I don't see any of that happening anytime soon because of the hurricane. It's hard to fly over hurricanes and then land as they're blowing wind into airports. So, it's just a very unfortunate situation for the people of Hawaii. And all we can do is watch and keep letting people know what is going on and what the latest information is. We get to see some gusts here. Okay, so we have some 67 gusts going on. 98-mile-per-hour gusts were registered before. Again, other sites are saying they're higher. It's still in that category 3 to 4 stage. Here we go, 110 miles per hour for Friday. That would be tomorrow. And then as it makes it up towards Honolulu, 70 miles an hour. But again, we're talking 2.5 days of already 20-plus foot waves and flooding. So it's only going to rise. So that is going to be the main concern, is the wind and the flooding for the coastal areas. Some of the lower areas in those islands will flood out as well. And that's where we're at for now, guys. So I will update you in a couple hours. Thank you for hanging tight and following the channel. Of course, there's plenty of info out there on this hurricane, and I'm sure a lot of you are learning how to read these charts by now, which is a very good thing. We will be back soon, guys, and if there's anything else that needs to be talked about, I'll jump on immediately. Hope everyone's having a good afternoon/evening, especially Northeast, and that's that, guys. I will talk to you all very soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.